Over the past week, something became clear. The Western world, the one that champions liberty, human rights, and democracy, has lost its way. And not to a great empire, not to economic ruin, but to terrorists in pickup trucks. We saw 28 countries, including Australia, issue a statement blaming Israel for a war Hamas started. They called for an unconditional ceasefire, a ceasefire that would not end the conflict, but at best pause it. Because an unconditional ceasefire means it's not linked to Hamas surrendering, disarming, or releasing hostages. The very conditions that Israel has laid out from the beginning of this war. That's like calling for the end of World War II without calling on the Nazis to surrender. Prime Minister Albanese then issued his own statement accusing Israel of killing civilians seeking food and water. He said these actions cannot be defended or ignored. Now, what is so troubling is that he's getting his information from Hamas, a death cult that does not care about truth or innocent lives, the very things that the Western world cares about. And that's because Hamas revels in the chaos and death it causes. President Macron of France went one step further. He wants to recognize a Palestinian state this September, and in doing so, he'd be rewarding almost 100 years of terror, rejectionism, and genocidal incitement. And that track record is clear. In 1937, the Peel Commission offered the Jews just 17 to 20% of mandatory Palestine, but the Arabs rejected that. In the 1947 partition plan, also rejection. The Clinton plan in 2000, rejected. The Amler plan in 2008, rejected. The Trump plan in 2020, rejected and ignored. Each time the answer by the Arabs was no. And that's because this was never about land, but rather the elimination of the one Jewish state. So when we look at these statements, and then we need to look at the reaction. Hamas praised these policies. And when a group as despicable and cruel and barbaric as Hamas praises your policy, well then maybe it's time to question your own moral compass. Israel has allowed over 1.8 million tons of aid into Gaza since the war started. There are currently hundreds of aid trucks sitting on the Gaza side of the border waiting for collection by the UN. Why haven't they been collected? Well, the UN itself is corrupted, and it works with Hamas as well. Meanwhile, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, separate from the UN and set up by the Americans with Israeli support, has delivered 95 million meals without involving Hamas. But no one, and certainly not in these statements, even mentions that. Now surely, if the main objective is helping Palestinian civilians get aid, all parties would want to engage. Yet the UN and the international community, with the exception of America, refuse to deal with them. And let's also not forget, the world certainly isn't allowing Palestinians to seek safe refuge in other countries, even temporarily, the way they did with refugees from Syria and Ukraine. This constant vilification of Israel is affecting Jews all over the world. In Australia, Jewish kids at a museum were called dirty Jews. In Valencia, students were kicked off a flight for singing in Hebrew. In Greece, Jews were barred from disembarking from a cruise ship. And this isn't just criticism of Israel. This is old-fashioned anti-Semitism in a new costume. When this war finally ends, and it will, Israel will survive. It always does. And almost 4,000 years of Jewish history is a testament to that. But the West, it's floundering. It has traded courage for cowardice, truth for convenience, and moral clarity for populist outrage. And that collapse doesn't just endanger Israel, it threatens the very soul of the West. And that in turn endangers us all.